almost daily, we zoom in on the Bitcoin charts. We analyze what Bitcoin is doing in the very, very volatile environment in which it trades in. But the real thing we should be doing is zooming out, asking the very critical question, do we have the patience for a $100,000 Bitcoin? Do we have the backbone to withstand the volatility along the way? And what I want to do is skip the intro and jump into the charts. Even now, you can see Bitcoin just a little volatile in the short term. We have this little dip from the short-term swing high, 5% or so short-term dip. Everybody's watching it, right? You probably opening your phones and you're watching Bitcoin. But I encourage you, as we're getting this little dip, as Bitcoin sees resistance at 10,500, zoom out on the charts. Zoom out on the charts. You get a very different picture. And I opened with talking about patience. Do we have the patience? I have to ask myself every day, especially when Bitcoin's volatile, especially when Bitcoin is down, do I have the patience? This is an article I just came across. This is like from a week ago. Here's the reason Bitcoin may not break $20,000 record for another year. And it basically goes on explaining why Bitcoin is lagging. It's slow. And it talks about halving potentially just being hype. Here's why longer Bitcoin cycles mean no new all-time high until 2021. Whether or not I agree or disagree with that article isn't the point, but that is kind of the tone of the markets today. Everybody wanting that all-time high. Everybody wanting altcoins to moon. We want to see alt season, right? We want to see all-time highs broken, and we want to see it now. The question is, do we have the patience? So if you zoom out on Bitcoin charts, I want to throw this out there. This is some macro analysis. That 2016 Bitcoin halving, it took basically 287 days, if you can see back here. This is 287 days after this Bitcoin halving it took for Bitcoin to break the recent bull market high of 2013, slightly above $1,000. So it took 287 days post 2016 halving to do so. Essentially, we're waiting for a same type of move. When is Bitcoin going to break $20,000, right? And we are currently 112 days or so after this previous Bitcoin halving. So Bitcoin actually, thus far, is not taking longer than previous cycles. Bitcoin is right on pace. Currently, if we start looking at what Bitcoin is doing on this weekly chart, you can see there's a small looking weekly candle that we're living in right now, and people are feeling the pain, but it's small in the macro look of things. I want to remind you right now, if we look at coin market cap, the market cap of Bitcoin is $191 billion, everybody. The market cap of Apple, and I know some people don't like me comparing, but this is the value of Apple stock, right? It's market cap, $2 trillion. Value of Bitcoin market cap, 191 billion. Apple, 2 trillion. Bitcoin is not even 10% of Apple's value right now in this world where Bitcoin truly, I believe, is going to change the world from a monetary perspective. So that's Apple. I just tweeted this a little bit ago. If Bitcoin had the market cap of gold, one Bitcoin would be $432,000. And some people think 1/4 of that is not possible. A $100,000 Bitcoin is not only possible, it's likely. A quarter, so 25% of gold's market cap would give us around a $100,000 Bitcoin. If you don't see how that's possible, I don't know what to tell you. It's not definite that it's going to happen. It's very speculative, right? This is a long game. This is also a risky game. But I think the potential is there, and the risk reward, in my opinion, is extremely strong. And if we look back at this macro look of Bitcoin, you can see it's well on its way to, and this chart I created back in the bear market low back in December 2018, Bitcoin well on its way to that next bull market high of around $100,000, and we have this sitting in 2021. The pace of Bitcoin looks fine in my opinion. So zooming in now, just to discuss this weekly dip that Bitcoin is in, crypto markets are in, I can't stress this enough how normal it is. So what I want to do is actually look at this. If we zoom in on the charts right here, as Bitcoin was getting ready to enter the next bull market in 2017 and see a swing high of $20,000, as Bitcoin was getting ready to do that, I want to zoom in on that chart right there. So zooming in, here are two dips. And if you look at this zoomed out chart, we're looking at this dip and this dip. Along the way, Bitcoin getting ready to make a huge move. So here it is, dip number 1 and dip number 2 before it makes a huge move. We're talking 30% dip here, 30% dip here, and this happened within a matter of months. You can see these two dips. This is a weekly chart. And even along the way, and before this happened back here, and then along the way on its way to $20,000, Bitcoin continues to dip, right? So I know I talked about this briefly in yesterday's video, and I brought this up many times on the channel before, but I don't know what else to do when I'm zooming in on the charts every day and we're looking and we're analyzing short-term targets. I don't know what else to do from a healthy perspective to really give everybody a clear perspective on what Bitcoin is doing, because I see a lot of tweets, I see a lot of comments in YouTube. They're so bearish. Could a bearish scenario play out and Bitcoin diverges from its long-term trend? Absolutely, it can. But we shouldn't be looking at, and if we zoom in here, we shouldn't be looking at a dip like this right here, which has just transpired, and we're talking like around 20% dip. We shouldn't be looking at that and basing the trajectory of Bitcoin based on that. This 20% dip or so is so normal. It's so commonplace for Bitcoin, and we shouldn't really be basing long-term technicals off of this dip, because it really has no place for it on these charts. So here are the two dips leading into the last bull market. This is spring of 2017, before Bitcoin got ready to go crazy, up to $20,000. And mind you, this is right around $1,000 Bitcoin. Interesting that currently we're right around a $10,000 Bitcoin, and we're seeing a similar dip. The other thing I would just want to bring up is this. If we go back to this zoomed out chart, notice how there were two 30% dips after the last Bitcoin halving before entering the bull market, really strongly entering the bull market. And thus far, post 2020 halving, Bitcoin actually hasn't seen any real big dips. We definitely see some consolidation, but this is the biggest dip we've really seen, and it's only 20%. So be prepared for this volatility, everybody. We have the 50-week moving average still down here around $8,600. It is the key. Bitcoin needs to stay above that long term, and it can stay above that long term. It's just a matter of tracking it and being patient to see if it does, right? But that is the most important key area for Bitcoin on the macro charts. It's the 50-week moving average currently sitting around $8,600. Will Bitcoin stay above it? You can see right now on this weekly chart, if Bitcoin were to actually dip from the swing high to that 50-week moving average, we'd be looking at around 30% dip. Time will tell if it happens, but it's just something to be prepared for. And even in an environment like that, Bitcoin would be consistent with its historical moves, and it wouldn't be out of the ordinary. I will be doing videos talking about how bullish Bitcoin is if Bitcoin is sitting at $8,600. Short-term bearish? Absolutely. We can do these short-term bearish videos. We can do mid-term bearish videos, right? We know we have a trend line coming from the bull market high. We have the swing high last summer, right? And this isn't very straight, but you get my drift. We have a trend line there. And if Bitcoin breaks that and we're testing this lower trend line down here, that could happen. We could be in a multi-month bearish move, but that doesn't change the fundamentals of the long-term technical analysis of Bitcoin and the supply and demand factor, the scarcity factor that lies within these charts. So the question is, do you have the patience for any scenario to play out? There is a risk-reward type of scenario in play here, meaning the risk is Bitcoin has topped out at 20,000 and it just doesn't ever break it again. It's possible. I think it's unlikely, but it's possible, and it's risky. But the reward is that doesn't happen. The reward is Bitcoin gains value because of the demand that it has. And all I see is increasing demand. And putting aside manipulation, putting aside things that happen technically, if you have the patience, I think those long-term gains are going to present itself. And I wanted to zoom out, even as Bitcoin's just kind of bobbling around here on the charts, I wanted to zoom out and get perspective, because these moves are so normal for Bitcoin and they're so just commonplace, as I said. And I just want to encourage you, if you can, have some patience. This isn't financial advice, but don't spend more money than you can afford to lose. Don't invest more money than you can afford to lose, but have patience. Don't get so wrapped up in the short term, because this 20% move actually is only 50% as painful as what Bitcoin has done historically. So another 20% downside, even that shouldn't surprise us. Time will tell. We'll keep tracking it. Wanted to do a macro chart for your Saturday. I hope you're having a great day. Hit the subscribe on the way out. I appreciate you. Hit the like button. It means a lot. I will talk to you in the next video. God bless.